The hammer slipped from my sweat-slicked hand, clattering against the splintered fence post like a gunshot in the humid afternoon silence. Ethan's eyes, those damn storm-gray eyes, locked onto mine, widening not in anger, but in something raw and unguarded that hit me like a freight train. "Shit, Alex," he breathed, his voice cracking as he stepped closer, the air between us thick with the scent of fresh-cut pine and unspoken regret. "I can't pretend anymore." I froze, heart slamming against my ribs, the world narrowing to the bead of sweat tracing down his neck, disappearing into the collar of his faded flannel. We'd been hammering away at this godforsaken fence for hours, me, the awkward kid brother of his best friend Jacob, roped into helping out on a lazy Saturday in our sleepy Ohio suburb. Jacob was off at some college party 3 hours away, oblivious as always, leaving me here in the backyard of the old Craftsman house on Elm Street, where Ethan lived with their parents. Ethan, the golden boy turned Marine, 25 and built like he could bench press a truck, with tattoos snaking up his forearms from tours in Afghanistan that he never talked about. I'd crushed on him since I was 16, stealing glances at family barbecues, my stomach twisting every time he ruffled Jacob's hair or cracked a joke that lit up the room. But this was different. This was the moment the fence between us shattered for good. He bent to pick up the hammer, his fingers brushing mine, deliberate, electric, and I swear the ground tilted. "You okay?" he asked, but his tone was all gravel and hunger, not concern. I nodded, mute, as he straightened, towering over me at 6'2" to my 5'10" frame. The sun filtered through the maple leaves overhead, casting dappled shadows on his face, highlighting the faint scar on his jaw from a bar fight he'd won but never bragged about. "Alex, listen, don't—" I cut him off, voice sharper than I meant, stepping back until my heel hit the garden hose coiled like a snake. "Jacob's my best friend. Your little brother. Whatever this is. It's fucked up." But even as the words tumbled out, my body betrayed me, leaning in, drawn to the heat radiating off him like a bonfire in December. Ethan's laugh was bitter, low, echoing off the neighbor's chain link. "Fucked up? Try living it every damn day." He ran a hand through his close-cropped hair, exhaling like a man surfacing from underwater. "I saw you watching me last 4th of July, during the fireworks. Thought it was nothing. Then last week at the diner, when you brushed past me in the booth." He trailed off, eyes dropping to my lips, and I felt exposed, peeled raw under that gaze. The fence loomed between us, half-repaired, posts leaning like drunken soldiers, a metaphor I was too wrecked to appreciate. We'd started this chore innocently enough that morning. Jacob had texted me at dawn. "Bro, Ethan's fence is trashed from the storm. Help him out? Owe ya beers." I'd groaned but dragged myself over, coffee in hand, telling myself it was for Jacob, the guy who'd pulled me through my parents' divorce, shared late-night smokes behind the high school bleachers, and never once judged me for being the quiet queer kid in a town that whispered about those types. Ethan had answered the door in cut-off jeans and a tank top, toolbox in hand, flashing that easy grin that made my knees weak. "Alex, perfect timing. Let's knock this out before the heat cranks up." Hours blurred into sweat and small talk, him prying old nails with a crowbar, me holding boards steady, our arms bumping more than necessary. Stories spilled out, his latest construction gig downtown, my freshman year flop at community college, dreams of getting out of Milford for good. But under it all simmered the tension, building like thunderheads on the horizon. Every laugh felt loaded, every shared water break from the hose a stolen intimacy. And now, here we were, the air crackling, the hammer forgotten at our feet. "Tell me to stop," Ethan murmured, closing the gap until his chest nearly brushed mine. His breath was mint and tobacco, his cologne faint wood smoke. "Say the word, and I'll back off. For Jacob. For everything." But his hand lifted, thumb grazing my jaw, tilting my face up, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the pulse thundering in my ears. I didn't say stop. Instead, I surged forward, crashing my mouth against his like a wave breaking on jagged rocks. He tasted like salt and secrets, his stubble rough against my skin, hands fisting in my shirt as he kissed back. Fierce, desperate, like he'd been starving for this. The world exploded in color. The buzz of cicadas, the distant hum of a lawnmower, the ache blooming deep in my chest. We stumbled against the fence, wood groaning under our weight, his body pinning mine in the best kind of trap. Fingers tangled in hair, hips grinding instinctively, a moan escaping him that vibrated straight to my core. When we broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together, reality slammed back. "Fuck," I whispered, guilt twisting like a knife. Jacob's face flashed in my mind, his easy smile, the way he'd defended me from bullies in middle school. "What are we doing?" Ethan pulled back. I stormy. "What we've both wanted since. God, I don't know. But it's real, Alex. Terrifying, but real." He cupped my face, thumb stroking my cheekbone. "I've buried this shit so deep after the core, coming home to Mom's Bible studies and Dad's man-up bullshit. Thought I was broken. Then you show up, all fire and quiet strength. And damn, we sank to the grass then, backs against the half-fixed fence, knees touching as the sun dipped lower." He really talked for the first time. About the loneliness in barracks bunks, scrolling Grindr in secret, deleting profiles before dawn. About the letter from his ex, a guy from basic training, who'd bailed when Ethan wouldn't leave the closet. "Thought I'd never feel this again," he admitted, voice raw. "Not here. Not like this." I shared too. Nights crying into my pillow after Dad walked out. Mom's oblivious, pray it away sermons. The hookups in Columbus that left me emptier. "Jacob knows," I said softly. "About me. Came out to him last summer. He hugged me, said he loved me anyway." Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's my kid brother, better man than me." He laced his fingers with mine, calluses rough against my palm. "We can't tell him. Not yet. It'll destroy everything." The guilt gnawed, but so did the hope, fragile as a new board in the fence. As dusk painted the sky bruised purple, we kissed again. Slower, sweeter, promising nothing but this stolen afternoon. Little did I know, it was the calm before the storm that would rip us all apart. The next week blurred into a fever dream of secrecy and stolen moments. I'd sneak over after shifts at the auto shop, claiming fence follow-ups to Jacob, who bought it hook, line, and sinker, too buried in his poli-sci textbooks to notice the flush on my cheeks or the way my texts lit up at odd hours. Ethan and I became experts at the dance. A quick brush of hands in the kitchen while his parents watched Jeopardy. A heated fumble in the bed of his truck parked behind the old mill. tires crunching gravel as we lost ourselves in each other. "You're gonna kill me," he'd growl against my neck one night, his body a solid wall of muscle over mine, the cab smelling of leather and lust. I'd arch into him, nails digging into his back, whispering his name like a prayer. Ethan Strong, scarred Ethan, unraveled under my touch, his marine-honed control fracturing into gasps and pleas that made me feel invincible. Afterward, tangled in the sleeping bag we'd stashed there, he'd trace the freckles on my shoulder, murmuring about futures we both knew were pipe dreams. Road trips down Route 66, a little place in Austin where no one knew our names. But cracks formed early. Jacob started noticing the distance. Me dodging Friday beers at O'Malley's. Ethan snapping at dinner over nothing. "What's with you two?" Jacob cornered me one evening outside the garage, his lanky frame silhouetted by the sodium lights, concern etching lines on his boyish face. 22. With Ethan's eyes but none of the hardness. Jacob was the glue holding our fractured trio together. "Nothing, man," I lied, forcing a grin as I wiped grease from my hands. "Just busy. College apps kicking my ass." He eyed me, unconvinced, clapping my shoulder. "Ethan's been weird too. Like, quieter." "You think the PTSD's flaring?" Jacob idolized his brother, had since they were kids wrestling in the backyard, Ethan shielding him from their old man's belt. The thought of betraying that bond twisted my gut. "Nah," I muttered, hating myself. "He's good. Promise." Guilt became my shadow, dogging every kiss, every whispered, "I love you," that slipped out too soon. Ethan felt it too, saw it in the way he'd pull back mid-embrace. Eyes haunted. "We gotta be careful," he'd say. But his hands never stopped wandering, addiction warring with caution. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a bayonet. It started with a text from an unknown number. "Tell Ethan to call me. It's about that night in Kandahar." I stared at it during lunch break, fork hovering over my sub, heart plummeting. Ethan had mentioned Ryan once, a buddy from the platoon, lost to an IED, or so the story went. But the tone, intimate, accusatory. When I confronted him that night, slipping into the backyard under cover of rain, he was chain-smoking by the fire pit, face illuminated in flickering orange. "Who's Ryan?" I demanded, phone thrust forward like evidence in a trial. His cigarette dropped, sizzling in the mud. "Jesus, Alex." "It's not." He scrubbed his face, rain plastering his shirt to his chest. "Ryan's alive. Was my everything over there. We hooked up in secret, thought it was just war shit. Then the blast, he got hit bad, medevaced out. I got the call he pulled through, but he wrote me last year. Said he couldn't forget. That I owed him. The words burned. "You lied to me." Ethan surged up, grabbing my arms. "I didn't lie, I buried it. Like I bury everything that hurts." His voice broke, rain mingling with tears on his cheeks. "Ryan's coming to town. Family reunion or some bullshit. Wants to meet. Clear the air." I told him no, but he's persistent. Thinks we're soulmates or whatever. Jealousy clawed at me, irrational and fierce. "And what do you think?" He yanked me close, kissing me hard under the downpour, water streaming like absolution. "I think I'm in love with you, you idiot. Scared shitless, but in love." We tumbled onto the wet grass, clothes shedding like old skin, bodies slick and urgent. It was cathartic, reclaiming him inside me, breaths sinking with thunder, promises gasped against collarbones. But as we lay spent, staring at the stars peeking through clouds, doubt lingered like smoke. Ryan arrived 2 days later, a ghost in khakis and a buzz cut, pulling up in a rental Prius that screamed civilian life. I spotted them from my bedroom window across the street, Ethan rigid on the porch, Ryan's hand lingering too long on his forearm. Jacob answered the door, oblivious, pulling his old platoon mate into a bear hug. "Dude, thought you were a goner." Beers in the fridge. Mom's got pot roast going. Dinner was torture. Seated across from Ryan, I forced smiles while he regaled tales of desert nights, his eyes flicking to Ethan with a possessiveness that made my skin crawl. "Remember that fence we fixed in Helmand?" Ryan said, winking. Ethan here, hammering away like a beast. Saved my ass more times than I can count. Ethan's jaw clenched, fork scraping his plate. Under the table, his foot nudged mine, a silent apology. Jacob laughed, pounding Ryan's back. "My brother's a hero. Don't deserve him." Later, as plates cleared, Ryan cornered me in the kitchen. "You're Jacob's friend, right, Alex?" His smile was all teeth, eyes assessing. "Ethan mentions you. Says you're special." My blood ran cold. "Does he?" Ryan leaned in, voice low. "Look, kid, I get it. Ethan's magnetic. But he's got baggage. War changes a man. If you're smart, you'll walk before it breaks you." He clapped my shoulder, grip bruising, and sauntered out like he'd won. That night, Ethan snuck over, climbing my trellis like a teenager, collapsing onto my bed reeking of whiskey. "He's pushing," he confessed, head in my lap as I stroked his hair. "Wants me to leave with him. Start over in San Diego, away from this town." His fingers traced my thigh, vulnerable. "But I can't. Not without you." Tears pricked my eyes. "Then tell him. End it clean." "I will," he vowed, pulling me down into a kiss that tasted of desperation. We made love slowly, savoring every inch, as if committing it to memory. But dawn brought the hammer blow. A note slipped under my door. Ryan's handwriting, "He's going with me. Don't wait up." Rage and heartbreak warred as I stormed across the street, pounding on the door until Ethan yanked it open, disheveled, eyes bloodshot. "Alex, wait, you're leaving." The words choked out, fists balled. Jacob appeared behind him, confusion morphing to horror as he pieced it together. The tension, the secrets. "What's going on?" Jacob demanded, voice rising. "You too." "Holy shit." Ethan's face crumpled. "Jake, it's not." But I couldn't stop. "He's been fucking me behind your back. Your hero brother. Screwing your best friend while pretending everything's fine." The confession exploded. Years of pent-up fear and love detonating like a grenade. Jacob staggered back, betrayal etching deep. "You. Both of you." His eyes, so like Ethan's, filled with tears. "I trusted you. We were family." The air thickened with recriminations. Ethan pleading, me raging, Jacob's sobs echoing through the hall. Ryan watched from the living room, smug satisfaction fading to unease. In the chaos, Ethan grabbed my arm. "I didn't say yes to him. I told him to go to hell. Last night, after you left. Lies? Truth? I wrenched free, storming into the rain-slick night, chest heaving. Behind me, the door slammed, sealing fractures that might never heal. Days bled into a numb haze. I ghosted Jacob's calls, ignored Ethan's texts, raw pleas scrawled like open wounds. Please, Alex. Let me explain. I choose you. The auto shop became my bunker, oil changes and tire rotations a monotonous shield against the ache gnawing my insides. Milford's autumn leaves turned crimson, mocking the blood on my hands from this mess I'd helped create. Jacob cornered me first. A week later, at the pump where I was filling up my beat-up Civic. Rain pattered on the awning, his hood pulled low, face gaunt under the fluorescence. "We gotta talk," he said, voice steady but eyes shattered glass. I leaned against the car, arms crossed. "What's left to say? I fucked your brother. Ruined everything." He flinched but held ground. "Yeah, you did. And he... God, Alex, he's wrecked too. Hasn't left the house since Ryan peeled out yesterday. Tires screeching like a bad country song." Jacob lit a smoke, offering me one. I took it, the flame trembling in my fingers. "But you're my brother too. In all but blood. I hate this. Hate you both for lying. But I get it. Love's a bitch." Tears blurred the neon signs. You're not disowning me?" He exhaled smoke skyward. "Tried. Spent a night screaming into my pillow, punching the bag in the garage till my knuckles split. Then I remembered you came out to me last year, scared shitless I'd bail. I didn't. Won't now." He gripped my shoulder, firm. "But Ethan's a different story. He's always protected me, even when it cost him. If you love him, fight for it. Or let him go clean. For all of us." His words haunted me through shifts and sleepless nights. Ethan, the protector. Flashes of him bandaging my scraped knee at 12, covering for Jacob's joyrides at 17. How could I have missed the weight he carried? The closet he'd built brick by brick? I caved on a Tuesday, driving to the house under cover of dusk. The porch light flickered like a hesitant beacon. Ethan answered barefoot in sweats, hollow-cheeked, stubble shadowing his jaw. "Alex," he breathed, like a lifeline tossed. We ended up in the backyard, the fence fully mended now, a silent testament to that first spark. Sitting on the picnic table, beers cracked from the cooler, the floodgates opened. "Ryan's poison," Ethan started, voice low. Showed up with stories, photos from deployment, us tangled in a bunk, thinking it was forever. Guilt tripped me hard, said I'd abandoned him. But it was never that. War love's intense. Yeah. But fleeting. You're home. I set my bottle down, heart pounding. Then why the note? Under my door. His eyes widened. "What note, Alex?" "I swear." He bolted inside, returning with his phone, scrolling furiously. Shit. He must've. After I told him to fuck off. God damn it. Fury etched his features, but beneath it, fear raw, boyish. "I'm sorry. For all of it. The secrets, the lies by omission. I was scared of losing Jacob, of this town chewing us up, of not being enough for you." I cupped his face, thumbs brushing tears. "You're enough. More than. But we can't hide anymore. Jacob knows. Your parents. They'll find out. Ethan leaned into my touch, exhaling shakily. Mom'll pray us into oblivion. Dad might throw me out like he did Uncle Ray for the same shit. Uncle Ray, the black sheep who'd fled to San Francisco. Postcards of rainbows and regret. But screw it. I'm tired of running. We kissed then, under the harvest moon, slow and sealing, a vow amid the whispering oaks. His hands mapped me like sacred ground, pulling me onto his lap, the table creaking under us. Clothes whispered away, skin meeting skin in the cooling air, urgent yet tender. He moved inside me with a reverence that broke me open, whispers of mine and always mingling with gasps. Climax hit like grace, bodies shuddering in unison, the world righting itself in his arms. Afterward, wrapped in a blanket from the house, we plotted. Coming out to his folks first, then the town. Jacob as ally, bridge over the chasm. We'll move, Ethan said, fingers tracing my spine. Columbus, maybe, or farther. Start fresh. Hope flickered, fragile but fierce. But betrayal's shadow loomed, Ryan, seething in whatever motel he'd crashed, plotting revenge. Came swift, a sucker punch via social media. Jacob texted me a screenshot, Ryan's post on their old platoon Facebook group, photo of a dog-eared letter, Ethan's words from years back, professing love in hasty scrawl. Caption: some heroes leave you for dead. Watch your backs, boys. Likes poured in, whispers turning to roars. Ethan's phone exploded, notifications from buddies, questions laced with judgment. He stared at the screen in the cab of my car, parked at the quarry's edge, knuckles white. Bastard. Using my own words against me. Vulnerability cracked through. What if they all know now? The core. My crew. I snatched the phone, powering it off. Then they know the real you. Brave enough to love, to fight for it. I straddled him, kissing away the panic, hands roaming until tension eased into moans. We fogged the windows, reclaiming power in sweat and sighs, his release a shuddering affirmation. But the storm brewed. Ethan's dad confronted him that night, overheard the argument with Mom about that queer nonsense from the internet. Words flew, disgrace, get out, belts unbuckling like old threats. Jacob intervened, voice breaking, Dad, stop, he's your son, our family. Ethan packed a duffel by midnight, crashing on my couch, bruises blooming on his ribs. I iced them in silence, rage simmering. This is on Ryan, I muttered. And us? For waiting. He pulled me close, lips to my temple. No. It's on them, for not seeing us sooner. In the dark, we held on. Two against the world. Love our only weapon. Climax built like thunder over Lake Erie, Ryan's final play. He showed up at O'Malley's that Friday, drunk and belligerent, cornering Ethan at the bar during open mic. Jacob and I burst in, drawn by a frantic text from a mutual friend. You think you can ghost me? Ryan slurred, shoving Ethan against the jukebox, coins clattering. After everything? Patrons gawked, phones out. Ethan straightened, calm steel. It's over. Was over years ago. Go home. Ryan swung wild, fist glancing off Ethan's shoulder. Chaos erupted, Jacob tackling him, me yelling for the bartender, fists flying in a blur of loyalty and fury. Ethan pulled me back, shielding, as bouncers hauled Ryan out, cursing litanies of betrayal. In the alley after, sirens wailing distant, we three stood panting, bloodied but unbroken. Jacob hugged Ethan fierce. "I'm sorry, man. For everything." Ethan clung back, tears streaking dirt. "Love you, little bro. Always." Then to me, eyes shining, "And you, my heart. Let's get the hell out of here." We drove into the night, windows down, wind whipping secrets away. Milford shrank in the rear view, a chapter closing. Ahead, uncertainty, but together humanity in the raw, redemptive grace of chosen family. Winter clamped down on Ohio like a vice, snow blanketing the wounds we'd left behind. We holed up in a cheap motel off I-71, the kind with neon vacancy signs buzzing like angry hornets and thin walls echoing neighbors' arguments. It was limbo, Ethan job hunting via sketchy Wi-Fi, me grinding double shifts at a temp agency, Jacob crashing weekends with tales from campus, his presence a bomb on our frayed edges. "Dad's thawing," he'd report over greasy diner pancakes. "Mom's sending care packages, Bible verses tucked in with the socks. But hey, progress." Ethan scoffed, but his eyes softened when I unpacked the socks later, folding them into our shared drawer. Domesticity crept in unbidden. Me brewing coffee black as his mood on bad days, him surprising me with takeout from that Thai place on High Street, chopsticks clacking as we debriefed the day's absurdities. Nights were sanctuary, bodies entwined under threadbare quilts, his heartbeat a steady drum against my cheek. "This is it," he'd murmur, fingers weaving through mine. Us against the bullshit, but scars festered. Ethan's nightmares returned, flashes of sand and screams, jolting awake with my name on his lips, mistaking me for ghosts. I'd hold him through the shakes, whispering affirmations until dawn painted the curtains gold. "You're safe," I'd say, kissing the tattoo on his pec. Semper Fi, always faithful. Irony bit deep. Faith had faltered before, but ours? It rebuilt, plank by plank, stronger than that backyard fence. Spring thawed the ice, and with it, opportunity. Ethan landed a gig, foreman on a high-rise downtown, barking orders from scaffolds swaying in the wind. "Pays shit, but it's honest." He grinned over celebratory beers at a dive with rainbow flags in the window. Columbus pulsed different here, buskers on street corners, couples hand in hand without side eyes, a queer coffee shop where baristas knew our orders. We dove in, first pride float, rainbow face paint smudged from kisses in the crowd, Ethan's laughter booming over techno beats. "Never thought I'd march," he confessed later, buzzed on cheap wine in our studio apartment, posters curling at edges. "Feels like shedding skin." I watched him bloom, shoulders relaxing, jokes lighter, the marine mask cracking to reveal the man beneath. Tender, teasing, mine. We adopted a rescue mutt, a scruffy terrier named Scout, who yipped at squirrels from fire escapes. Mornings blurred into routines, him jogging the Scioto trails, me sketching logos for freelance gigs, dreams of graphic design school flickering like fireflies. Yet conflict simmered, uninvited. Ryan resurfaced in a manila envelope postmarked San Diego. Photos from our O'Malley brawl, grainy but damning, captioned in Sharpie, "Truth hurts, hero." Accompanying letter, typed and venomous, "You think you're free? I told your CO. Honored discharge incoming." Enjoy the fall. Ethan's face drained of color as he read, crumpling it like trash. Bastard. Using the system against me. PTSD clawed back. Nights pacing the linoleum, fists clenched. What if they revoke benefits? Or worse, label me unfit? I burned the photos in the sink, acrid smoke curling like accusations. We'll fight it. Lawyers, appeals, whatever. But fear gnawed. Our fragile nest, eggshells underfoot. Jacob rallied, driving down with printouts from vet forums, resources for queer ex-service members, hotlines glowing with promise. You're not alone, he said, hugging Ethan tight. Family sticks. The hearing came swift, a VA office reeking of stale coffee and bureaucracy. Ethan in his best button-down, me beside him gripping his knee under the table, Jacob in the waiting room thumbing dog-eared magazines. The panel, stiff suits with sympathetic nods, reviewed Ryan's claims. Insubordination due to personal conduct. Ethan's testimony poured out raw, unflinching, nights in foxholes forging bonds that blurred lines, love as survival amid carnage. I served with honor, he said, voice steady. Who I love doesn't change that. They deliberated behind closed doors, minutes stretching eternal. When the door opened, cleared. Full benefits intact. Ethan sagged, tears hot and unashamed. In the parking lot, we three collided in a huddle, laughter bubbling through sobs. We did it, I whispered, kissing him fierce, Jacob whooping like a kid at Christmas. Betrayal's sting faded, alchemized to strength. Ryan vanished into silence, his poison neutralized. We thrived, Ethan mentoring at a vet center, sharing stories that healed his own fractures. Me enrolling part-time, portfolio bursting with bold lines. Dates dotted calendars, picnics at Alum Creek, vinyl spins of Springsteen in the park, slow dances in our kitchen to Coltrane sax. One evening, as fireflies danced outside our window, Ethan dropped to one knee amid pizza boxes and Scout's chew toys. Box simple silver band etched with coordinates of that Ohio backyard. Alex, he said, eyes like summer storms, you fixed me when I was splintered. Marry me? Build a life. Fences and all. Tears blurred his face. Joy exploding. Yes, I choked, pulling him up into a kiss that sealed eternities. Jacob, FaceTiming from his dorm, cheered with confetti emojis. Parents, tentative bridges, sent cards. Moms with wildflowers pressed between pages. Ethan's folks a check for the future. Words unspoken but warming. Years unspooled like film reels. Wedding under those same maples. Jacob best man in a suit too tight. Vows exchanged with Scout as ring bearer. House in the suburbs, not Milford's, but close enough for visits. Backyard fence sturdy. Hosting barbecues where stories flowed freer than beer. Life's not fairy tale. Shadows linger. Arguments over dishes. Ethan's bad days curling him inward. My insecurities flaring like old doubts. But we mend. Always. Hands clasped in therapy circles. Laughter echoing through storms. Love, humanistic and hard-won, proves its mettle not in perfection, but persistence. In the end, it's the quiet moments that endure. Ethan's head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with mine, whispering, what happened next? Always us. Decades carve canyons, but ours deepened into valleys of grace. The wedding photo yellowed on the mantle, Ethan in his tux, arms slung around me, grins wide as the Ohio River, Jacob photobombed in the background with a stolen beer. Scout passed at 14. Buried under the fence he'd once dug beneath. A stone marker etched loyal companion. We adopted again Milo, a lab mix with one-ear floppy, who chased squirrels with undiminished zeal. Columbus grew around us like kudzu. Skyline spiking higher. Our apartment traded for a bungalow in Clintonville. Porch swing creaking under evening gins. Ethan's foreman days evolved to project management. Barking less. Mentoring more, guiding young vets through blueprints and breakdowns. His office a haven of coffee stains and candid laughs. "Pay it forward," he'd say, echoing Jacob's long-ago words. I graduated late but fierce. Degree framed beside his discharge papers, ironic duo. Freelance bloomed to studio ownership. Alex Reed designs. Logos for queer-owned spots dotting the map. Pride flags fluttering from client windows. Success tasted bittersweet. Mom visited once, clutching her purse like a shield, eyes widening at the rainbow mugs. "Proud of you, son," she whispered over pie, olive branch wrapped in scripture. Ethan's folks followed suit, thawing over grandkids, our chosen ones. Foster placements turning permanent. 2 boys with wide eyes and wary hearts, teaching us love's infinite shapes. Jacob married Lena in a vineyard upstate, rings exchanged under grapevines heavy with promise. He became the uncle who spoiled with stories, exaggerated yarns of our brawl, minus the bruises, while climbing ranks in City Hall, advocating for vets and the marginalized. Learned from the best. He'd toast at holidays. Glass raised to us. Conflict revisited in waves. Never tidal but insistent. Ethan's 60th. A flare-up sidelining him with hip surgery from old shrapnel, forcing vulnerability he'd armored against. I hovered, fussing with pillows and broth, earning gruff, "I'm fine," that dissolved into confessions by lamplight. "Scared I'll slow you down," he admitted, fingers tracing my wedding band, silvered now. I straddled his lap careful, kissing the worry lines etched deep. "Slow? You're my pace. Always. Lovemaking adapted, gentler, profound. Bodies maps of shared mileage. Climaxes quiet earthquakes that reaffirmed. Desire endures, evolves." Betrayal's echo faded to footnote. Ryan surfaced once more. A decade post-hearing email from a recovery group. Apology terse. Sobered up. Saw the light. Sorry for the wreckage. Ethan read it aloud over breakfast. Milo snoring at our feet. "Forgive?" I asked. He shrugged, deleting with a click. Water under. But thanks for nothing. Closure. Unceremonious. Freeing. Climax revisited in subtler guises. Milo's cancer diagnosis. Treatments draining savings. The boys' teenage rebellions. Echoes of our own wild youths. A town hall firestorm when Ethan's vet center pushed trans-inclusive policies. Pickets chanting slurs we'd thought relics. We stood firm. Protests turned teach-ins. Hearts pounding but unbroken. Jacob's gavel falling in favor. Through it, romance romanticized the ordinary. Anniversaries with porch swings and stargazing. Hands clasped as constellations wheeled. Ethan's letters, penned now. Arthritic script on blue stationery. Tucked in my suitcase for conferences. Miss your laugh. Come home soon. Love, your hammerslinger. Humanism bloomed in the humanism. Mentoring the boys through their first crushes, one straight, one questioning. Both embraced. Hosting potlucks where stories swapped like recipes. Fences mended metaphorically over pie. Mom passed gentle. Quilt in her will stitched with hidden rainbows, her quiet rebellion. Ethan's dad lingered stubborn, but a deathbed gruff, love ya. Son sealed absolution. Now, 70s whispering at our doors. We walk the trails where Ethan once jogged, paces matched, canes tapping rhythm. Backyard fence, weathered silver, hosts grands, bio kids and chosen, tumbling in grass that once witnessed our spark. Evenings, fire pit crackling, we recount, the hammers clatter, the kiss in the rain, the brawl that bonded. What happened next? Ethan asks one twilight, head on my shoulder, voice gravel soft. I smile, kissing his temple, silver hair feathering my lips. This. Shocking, beautiful us, and in that dramatic arcs resolved, emotions distilled to essence, romance eternal, humanity affirmed, we find our ever after, not flawless, but full. A story American as apple pie and backroad anthems, proving love's the truest rebellion.